evening, everyone, and welcome to SCI-Arc. I'm really happy to be asked to introduce Hak Sik Son, who is an architect here in Los Angeles and also is seen as an architect in Korea, because he's there just as much. He has actually strong ties to SCI-Arc in the sense that he, for many years, probably since 1981, has often hired SCI-Arc graduates to help him produce the work, the great deal of work that he produces. And recently, such characters who are recent graduates as Robert Thibodeau or Michael Cook or Aaron Idoween, just to name a few, have been helping him produce some of his great work, as well as some of the faculty who Hak Sik has asked to collaborate with him and help him to produce these projects, such as Greg Walsh or myself or Paul Lubowicki. I met Hak Sik about 1993 when I was teaching at USC. We along with Chris Jarrett, I organized this project called the Service Station Project, where we asked 11 architects from around the city to work within the communities to do some small-scale interventions. And Hak Sik was good enough to join that effort. And ever since then, I guess we've been pretty great friends. And I see a lot of them work with him. Hak Sik Son grew up in Seoul. He actually was a child there, from what I understand, during the Korean War. And after the war, he went on to high school. He actually attended a very distinctive high school. I think it's called Kyungji High School, which actually is noted because almost all the major architects in Korea and a lot of the architects who ended up coming to America and practicing architecture in America have all come from this high school. And so there's something about that place that actually evidently it also produces a lot of attorneys and doctors. The relation, I'm not sure. In 1965, Hak Sik Son graduated from Seoul National University and then went on to a year of graduate school there. And he also served in the Korean Army teaching engineering. And then decided, for whatever the reason, I heard he was a little bit of a rebel and had some political kind of involvement, which maybe or maybe not encouraged him to come to the United States. But he attended the UCLA graduate school and earned his master's there, all the time working for architects around this city during the summer breaks. And after he graduated, he was working for a firm, Arnold, Rebison and Rex. And like many young people, he spent a lot of time on Melrose. Was it hip during that time? At any rate, one day walking along Melrose, he came across a building that impressed him. As a student, he was always a great follower of such architects as Louis Kahn or Alto, but most especially Louis Barragan. And he discovered this building that seemed to have a connection to the work of Barragan, but he didn't know who designed it. And I guess he tried to find out by talking to people, and eventually talked to the AIA and found out that it was designed by this man named Frank Gehry. And it was the Danziger studio. So he dropped by, and I guess at that point there were maybe 3 or 4 people working there, including Greg Walsh. And Hak Sik talked with him and went back to his job. And a few days later, Greg Walsh called him and asked him to maybe come and help him with the charrette in the evenings. And evidently this was a way of testing Hak Sik Son out, because a few days later they offered him a job. And that was in 1971. And 10 years later to the day, Hak Sik quit working for Frank Gehry. It was a decade of work for Frank Gehry. But eventually he became a project designer on projects such as the Gemini Gallery, the Spiller Residence, which actually my students in QA recently made a model of, the World Savings Banks in Toluca Lake, Harper House, which was that large 195 unit condominium in Baltimore, or the Santa Monica Place Shopping Center, and then the final one was he worked on the first two phases of the Loyola Law School. So in 1981, Hak Sik peeled off, and with his friends Mark Appleton and Barton Phelps, they each started their business sharing an office space. And the thing about Hak Sik is that he started very small, like a lot of us, with house renovations, kitchen remodels, and the like, beanbag apartment houses. And eventually, through a lot of hard work, he started to grow the size of the work, and he got 4 or 5 small bank branch offices for California Center Bank, and that led to work with General Telephone, and then eventually to work doing renovations to LA City schools. Things, really maybe dumb things like adding air conditioning, which is some way you have to start with the school system. Eventually that led to some better jobs, and including the Ramona Elementary School and the Wilson Elementary School, both of which I think you'll see tonight. Then around the end of the 80s, as things were maybe sort of chugging along here but starting to slow down around the Pacific Rim, and including in Korea, things started to pick up. So through his longtime connections, Hak Sik Son was able to get a pretty nice commission to do a house in Korea. And later that led to Design Plaza renovation, which was a 4-story office building, which you'll see. And in Korea, the good thing about Hak Sik's work, because he's become a commuting architect since this sort of recession is taking place, he doesn't really have to do mediocre jobs. There's a huge building boom in Korea, and so he gets a pretty good level of work over there. Right now in Korea, he's working on 3 single-family residences, a gallery, a 6-story branch bank, and he does an incredible amount of consultation for large firms doing huge affordable housing complexes. And now in Los Angeles, he's finishing up the Wilton School and working on a restaurant, and starting a planning of a 80 single-family unit development out in Palm Springs. The one thing that characterizes his work, among many others, is his desire to sort of test out his abilities on competitions, and he's been very successful in that. He received 3rd place in the Jeju housing competition, which was a 2,200 unit housing competition. He last year got, in the end, 2nd place in the Seongnam Cultural Center, which is a huge cultural center, including a concert hall, library, design, and whatnot. But what was interesting about that is he actually got 1st place. And then the mayor of the city of Seongnam complained that someone from the city should be on the judges panel. So there was a rejudging, and it became a tie. And then they had to go to the city council. So someone who was an architect from the city ended up getting that job. He also got 1st place on a huge housing competition, 3,200 units in Busan, which is now starting construction, and 1st place on the Moonhwa Broadcasting Station, TV station in Daegu, Korea. He was one of the 5 finalists in the Pershing Square competition, and with Jörg Lang back in 1970s, they got 2nd place in an international urban design competition. So he's pretty accomplished on that level. The one thing about Hak Sik, I would say, just from a personal level, is I really appreciate his diligence. And to me, I look up to him because he embodies a certain level of, the kind of gradual accomplishment of creative greatness or power, because he understands the kind of things that it takes to have that sort of enduring level of accomplishment. One is that gradual progress is the most enduring, according to Confucius, and another one that perseverance always seems to pay off. It seems like Hak Sik's whole life is a charrette, and he works, from 9 in the morning until 11 or 12 at night every day, including Sundays. He also is very good at staying abreast of the changing times in terms of the developments in the field, as well as adjusting the size of his office to the current economy. And he's very focused in terms of limiting the sphere of his activity. There seems to be very little that he does. He does architecture and more architecture. He takes breaks to eat. In fact, he seems to be a human clock when it comes to meal times. He doesn't need a watch. He always knows when it's noon or when it's 6 o'clock. And in working with him, I was always able to tell the time. The other thing that he has in his limited sphere is his family, who see him at midnight usually, and basketball, which is a great way for him to maintain a level of vigor. He seems to be a very young man. Well, actually, he is. And then finally, he always has the ability, in spite of whatever incredible level of pressure, to maintain a very sort of lighthearted sense of humor. I never have been around someone who laughs so much, and actually it helps me to laugh a lot when I'm with him. At any rate, I'm very proud to introduce to you Mr. Hak Sik Son.
Thank you, Norman, but your lengthy introduction, very exaggerated. So I told him before that finish within 3 minutes, but it took almost 15 minutes. So because I lost a lot of time, I will show basically slide without talking. Right side slide is a site map of Santa Monica. I did 1981 parking structure renovation. As you see, we have downtown Santa Monica 6 identical parking structure here. And City of Santa Monica at the time asked what is the best way to activate it and some kind of live the parking structure itself. So I was chosen actually to develop some kind of prototype, as maybe some of them you go to this parking structure. I did only one, 2nd Street and Broadway, and but most of the concepts I developed they are using most of the parking structure. The left side slide is pretty much before we renovated it. Okay, left side slide is that's on 2nd Street before renovation. The ground floor, a lot of trees there, and nobody can see what's in there but the pedestrian, some kind of scale, and that's going to be nothing. So I proposed the ground floor, cut out the trees, and also used to be parking level. But right side, I suggested eliminate the parking and introduce some kind of retail. Right side slide is right after renovation, and ground floor to encourage the pedestrian movement. Ground floor we provide a retail shop, but the parking structure, every parking structure, they got 2 entrances. One is for car, one is for the pedestrian. Right side slide is the main entrance for the car. Left side slide is entrance to the elevator lobby. But to make this parking structure pleasant and introduce a lot of natural light, I used some kind of layer of facades, and it doesn't reduce and natural light penetration. But in the meantime, and passersby can see some kind of layer in front of the bare parking structure. And left side is some kind of floor plan, at least ground level here used to be parking, but I introduced some kind of retail shop, and then some kind of shear wall, I cut it out like this. And then introduce natural light, a middle bay, so at least parking structure will introduce as much natural light. And left slide is, I did some renovation job in Korea. This is some kind of shop. Left side is pretty much downtown, new town version of Seoul. And that's not old town. After Korean War and south of river, we have a lot of developments. So this is pretty much seen. And right side is, this is a project I renovated. Left side slide is pretty much previous building. That's a 1960. Right after Korean War, we had this kind of project in downtown. And the structure system is a concrete frame, and then concrete slab and concrete beam, and covered with some kind of tile. And the client bought this building, and used to be first floor is a shop, a second and third floor used to be office. But he want to convert this building like some kind of retail shop. The first floor is a clothing store, second floor is a furniture store, and third floor is a design office. Left side is a floor plan at first floor. To make this building to make a retail works, I made the basement, first floor, and second floor connected. I cut it out one bay of structure here and here, and then introduce some kind of stair, and treat like a very light floating object, and each floor can be connected. So first floor is a clothing display area, and I use that circle shape and cover with fabric. So I display the clothing there. And second floor, this one, this is not a big space. So I introduce one freestanding wall and floating wall, and then I display the furniture. And left side slide, a section of the building, the basement, first floor, second floor, connected by the stair, like the right side is. And then all three floors connected. Basement and first floor is a clothing store, and second floor is a furniture, and third floor is a design offices. But in terms of building regulation, I cannot increase the square footage of the building, but I lost because of this cutting out two bays of floor area. I added up the fourth floor and utilized them office and high ceiling, and also that make the building a little bit higher. Okay, right side is the elevation of the storefront. Main elevation of this building is facing north. So I had a great chance to utilize that clear glass, and then you can see from outside building just completely. So we don't need any sign. The first floor you can see the mannequin, and second floor furnitures, and so the building itself is a merchandising. And also to make the building I maintain that existing structure system as it is, and then cover up with some kind of glass enclosure. Okay, this is the building from west side, and ground floor clothing store. I finished with a brick, and then second and third floor is a green aluminum panel, and fourth floor is the offices. Because of facing west, I use some kind of wood and some kind of canopy. And the reason I use this brick and green aluminum panel, this is behind of this alley. There's a residential buildings, major material is brick. So I like to harmonize with the existing fabric and also the green as some kind of match with the color. Right side is some kind of all level by level display system and the scheme and how the building works. And then left side is the first floor, the display, clothing display. At the same shot, there's you can see some fabrics. This is the one, the circle of inside. I cover up with a fabric so you can see some kind of light transparent and through. And then outside, this one, I finished it, took out the existing tile and outside completely, but it is very hard to finish and very smooth. So I left as it is. It is rough textures of concrete column and beam, and it juxtaposed with clean finish outside. But the funny thing is that when the opening day, a lot of customers came by and then they asked the question when we finish the building. So that's the both shot is the second floor as a furniture showroom. I made a one arc, this plywood wall, and then some kind of pattern, the partition. But the existing building ceiling height is too low. I exposed the beam, and then between beam, right under the slab, I put the plywood, and between them, I put the display light. Right side is from inside, look out. I introduced some kind of layers of the staircase out, so some kind of visually maybe interesting the facade I can create. But the left side is, because I took out 2 bays of shot, the slab, and then I had a chance to add 4th floor, and the 4th floor we don't have any height limit, so I introduced almost 2-story high studio space. This is the house I did in Malibu. Right side is site plan, and left side is kind of isometric. And this is the house around 2,000 square feet and top of the hill. And the plan is left side is first of the plan. I organize it some kind of axis. That axis goes through the ocean view. And left side is a bedroom quarter, and right side is a living room and dining and kitchen. And second floor, they need only 2 bedrooms. Left side is pretty much entrance shot, and right side the elevations. Entrance, because the Malibu is so hilly, I had a great time to how the main level go up to without any too much trouble. So from garage to main entrance step. Left side is pretty much main entrance view. The pink 2 volumes is a 2-bedroom, and upper is master bedroom. And right side is a concrete block, is a dining room, and beyond some kind of metal is some kind of loft and kitchen. And right side shot is because right here I create some kind of clear story, top of the clear story facing south, so you can cast that. Some kind of changing shadow line and the dining room all the time. Left side is the west side view, and then some kind of loft volume. The client is both an artist, so the lady, she's working at home, and she said that she needs some kind of loft space, and you look down the living room. Left side section, and then right side is there. The requirement is that kitchen is the center of the house. So the kitchen is between living room and dining. And the whole, the volume, I worked, living room is almost 20 feet high and pretty much rectangle volume. And then vaulted ceiling is loft. and then a dining room and 2 bedroom is together. Okay. Left slide is pretty much oceanside view. You can see great view to the ocean, but in the meantime, the southwest exposure, so I should make some kind of canopy, and I use that canopy introduced go inside. So right side inside, some introduce that the cantilever situation illuminated, so I use that as a high ceiling of the living room as a decorative element. Okay, this is pretty much a nice view, but we have to fight with the sun, so I made a trellises southwest exposure. This is the project I did in Hancock Park. Left side is existing condition, and this is pretty much an unusually deep lot, I guess around 250 feet. And then the existing house is pretty much 2-story high here, and garage used to be here. They got a big pine trees there, and then they didn't utilize this whole backyard, but they want to add master bedroom and family room, and also children's play area. So I made a new plan. I put this one is a master bedroom and the family room, and then move this garage and put backside, and top of the garage I provide some kind of playroom. Actually, the client is they are immigrated as a Korean, and they are educated in Korea, and they got 2 children here. They were born here. So I guess 2 generations, actually 3 generations live together. So I think I utilize that, and then this is pretty much common and pretty much a conventional house. And this add up is for the parents, but this backside is entirely different for the kids. And then by siding this building and connecting this pergola here, and then some kind of concrete block wall, and this is facing the south, so I did this one, so define this some kind of open space between 2 buildings. Okay, left side is first floor. I add up this here, family room, and then this garage. And second floor is either master bedroom and this a playroom. But between this master bedroom existing building, I made a roof patio. So 2 independent objects, one object here and this object here. Left is some kind of section, and right is elevation. So this is existing building, and this new family and master bedroom connected by some kind of skylit pathway. And then this one is a garage and playroom area. And this building is pretty much same size, same volume, but the architectural expression is entirely different. Left side is elevation between 2 buildings, this building and that building, and south side property line, because the neighbor wants to have a fence. So I made a concrete block wall, and this is because it's south side, I put some glass block there. From eye level, you can see the wall, and also the light can penetrate. Left slide is from street side. This building is pretty much conventional, and then compatible with the neighborhood. And right side is back side. And then all existing building stays, except this roof shingle, I changed it, and this add one. Yes. Yeah, this is a balcony detail. This left side is some kind of view from eye, and then right side, this is the kind of access way to the garage beyond. But I found out that as long as 2 rows of concrete for the wheel, and between them we can plant on it. the left slide is for the children's area, step up, and then high one playroom, and then right side is some kind of detail, the concrete, the garage, and then some kind of balcony. Yeah, top of the playroom area, I made some kind of a clear story. We raised it. So even though the room size is around 18 by 18, but if you go in, the ceiling is so high, and also big pine trees covered, and so almost like a countryside looking. Right side is pretty much a relationship with the pine tree, and then playroom and the structure, and also some kind of interpretation of the landscape and Eastern and Western culture. If this big tree in some kind of Eastern culture, I see some kind of contemplating, don't touch it, just appreciating it. So this tree can be appreciated from master bedroom, but the children, I introduced the balcony, extended it all the way up to around 3 feet away, so the children can touch on it. That's between two buildings. We put some kind of landscape on it, and as I told you before, because of I put the building behind, between buildings, a very livable and comfortable area. This is a connection between the existing building to master bedroom, and you can see the antenna, and somebody mentioned that he is the I think he is one of the largest antenna as amateur level, and he loves that. And then I put the location is almost juxtaposed a big pine tree opposite side. And right side is a master bedroom, and I make invert the roof some kind of gable, so you can see some kind of shape of the master bedroom ceiling. And left side is existing building. I eliminate the ceiling. I expose all the way up, so at least stair as it is here. But I cut it out, this whole ceiling, and make a skylight there. Very spacious. This is the building I did a couple of years ago in Malibu. Right side is model, and left side is site plan. The site is very interesting, and the client owned this lot, but we have a big stream here. Big stream is here, and without any bridge, you cannot get the site. So the bridge is very important part of the architecture. And then there's a bridge connection here at the building, and also surrounded a lot of big oak trees. And oak tree is very good for the shades, but legally we cannot cut it out, the oak tree, and also oak tree line, we have to maintain it. And third, we have a 100-year flood line. And then backside is some kind of, the slope is so steep. The site condition is almost dictate building floor plan. Right side is some kind, because stream is a major element, I think the bridge is part of the architecture. And then left side is passing from the bridge. You can see the building. I trying to get this building, it's almost like a floating in some kind of forest. So that's why I made a carport instead of a garage. Right side is first floor plan. If you're coming in, the bridge coming in, this carport, and the one living room and kitchen here, and dining, and then storage here. And the building is floating. And this kind of footprint line, even though I use a very simple boxes, but almost like oak tree lines. I just, remaining portion of the oak tree circle is almost like a floor plan. And then same thing, the owner is a photographer. He needs a very minimal detail and sometimes spacious. So living room, I gave a big 2-story high space in here. And then master bedroom has a high ceiling. And the rest of them some kind of juxtaposed with high and very generous space versus very tight. As I told you, it seems to me this project, the bridge is the very important feature and left side. And then the bridge, I had a chance to fabricate it, but the owner and I, we talked about it, we bought some kind of train bed. We bought that from San Francisco, and we transported it and to I-beam, and then the soil condition is so bad, we have 4 caissons, and we just lift there and put it there. These are bridges from many different, from the house, you can see the bridge. And then originally I suggest that the chain link is a very light blue coated chain link, but it came out so expensive, and also that's why right now it's only 1 inch galvanized. Left side is from 2nd floor, look down the entrance and then see the bridge. And right side is from right entrance, we have a skylight. Left side is the living room and 2-story high. Actually, left side is, I need around 12-inch retaining wall here. Up to a certain level, I put the retaining wall, and above that, the wood frame and structure. And here too, stairway, certain height, the concrete block, and then you can see back side. Right side slide is in master bedroom. You can see outside, the whole house, each room, each angle, you can see whole outside. It's a part of the inside of some kind of forest. Left side is the finish of the material, the building is that basically stucco box and then 2 layers, just galvanized iron steel, and then this one is inside. This portion is there, this corridor to master bedroom, and then this master bedroom, you can appreciate backside of some kind of old oak trees and everything. This is construction detail. 3 years ago, I had a chance to design one house in Korea. Left slide is pretty much neighborhood, surrounding neighborhood of this lot. This is a kind of very expensive residential section, and because hilly and some kind of shape of each lot is very irregular. And as you see, most of the Korean house, even though gable roof, the plan itself rectangle or rigid form. But as a group, if you look at the whole area is from airplane, and the roof shape is almost like almost collage. So this is a lot and huge retaining wall around, and the main entrance here, and then building kind of this shape. And the owner is actually they're very Buddhist, but they got a very good contemporary art collection. So that's why they hired me actually. That's because I was educated here and do that. But this site plan shows how can you make approach here. This gatehouse and approach, and then this is kind of 2 different kind of feeling of garden, and they believe the feng shui, which I'm not too familiar, and actually I don't believe too much, but the priest came to the job site and they gave us 2 things. One is this main entrance direction go this way. That's one. And the other one is the corner of the building right here. You cannot violate it, 2. But I look at it, and makes sense to me. Actually, this corner I don't know because it's a very close to retaining wall. Even if without the regulation, I'm not going to do it. But this access way is very interesting after we demolished the existing house. And that line is, view is great, and also backside, some kind of wind direction. Everything makes sense to me. So that's why I hung up this here. So first floor actually is a gatehouse, and then coming up entrance living room, and this is kind of contemplating room, the Buddhist contemporary room, and the kitchen dining, just very simple. And second floor stair coming up, this master bedroom, you can look down living room, and then this master bath and sculpture garden here, and this family room, and two study room and one bedroom. Very simple. This is the elevation of the building. I was trying to do at least the front of the building, trying to understand, pretty much similar to some kind of Korean pitch roof, even though different material. But instead, the front and back, I made an entire different, because backside is, see, backside, the building should be top of this kind of retaining wall, almost 20 feet high. So backside elevation, I use a lot of fragmented rather than one singular mass. Wherever I have a chance, I made some kind of broken down and different kind of, see, this is one of the elements I used it, the top of the kid's bedroom. This is the main entrance. And main entrance, because retaining wall around 20 feet all the way around, and finally, I made some kind of, this is a wood slab, and this stone, and then this is a car waiting, and this the people entrance. And in Korea, I think that's very important to me. This house has a great opportunity to get it from inside and outside. That means the weather over there in winter and the summer is very different. So the left side is some kind of winter shot, and right side is summer shot. Right side, if you come in, this entrance is here. This is some kind of access line for the feng shui suggested. And I made this line from ground level all the way up around 2 meters high, disappearing in the sky. And then from here, you cannot perceive space backside. And right entrance, you can see this is the gate, main entrance gate. As I described to you, from main entrance gate to outside gate, this is the way. And then this is the space you cannot perceive from entrance, but this wall is disappearing to the sky, and this is some kind of private space for they can have some time there. And then this circular element, maybe you noticed it in site plan. Actually, in Chinese, some kind of garden we call it zhongwan, means the portion of some kind of forest, the planted area, and then non-planted area. Yeah. Right side is I can see from the main entrance, and then this is the wall the feng shui suggested. And this is space, and this is a winter shop. And then I put big tree. This is around 75 years old tree, and then this is this one. So we create some kind of circular space, almost like a Japanese Zen garden. This is just only sandy, and this some sandstone, so you can walk on it. But in front of this is a meditating room. In front of that, this kind of space. Right beyond, we planted a lot of trees. This is the living room, and look out. And I made this living room around 3 steps down. So if you sit down, you look out, almost the garden is floating. Actually, this garden is going up around 2 feet. So almost like you can feel endless feeling. And the floor is pretty much special, custom made, because I use the concrete here and wood floor. And this one is a wood frame, and then pour the concrete. As I told you, they own lots of modern art collection, and right side slides. Actually, this Frank Stella's work is because of that. This wall is heavily reinforced, and then this big wall, actually huge wall, and the one painting wall, and between there I put some kind of opening here, and then outside landscape. Right side is a major stair, and I use exposed concrete, and I like this house is almost a minimum detail. Even the base, I eliminate all base. And I use the base, but the finish is the same, just white. And here too, I just cut it out. It's all wood is exactly precisely there. And then this one, this is a kind of landing, but I don't like the landing. It's kind of just circulation. So I like to have some kind of space. So this is pretty much high ceiling, and landing is wide. And then they are using right now, put some sculpture on it there. Left slide is, I have a shot right into the entrance, first floor, look up. And then ceiling is circle, and skylight is square, all the way up. And then right side, this square of skylight, throwing the light. And then this second floor, the family room, and all the way down to this circular shape, the main entrance. And the house I did it, this one, even if I use some kind of pitched roof, I put the insulation at the roof level, so I maximum utilize it. This is kind of a loft there, and then this is family room, and this beyond is study room. And the only thing I need is separation sound, so I put the glass here and wood frame, and from skylight, all three rooms natural light they can get. Right side is this is a family room. They need the second floor. They need a small kitchenette and sink and that sort of stuff. It seems to me so utilitarian. So I like to put one more layer of some kind of framework. So at least that's there. Then the sink is here and refrigerator here. But I think this got overpowering here. And then composite this and that element as one space. And this is some kind of opposite side of the family room. Left side is the corridor. Even corridor, I use all the way up the ceiling to some kind of gable roof, and then I introduce some kind of triangular wedge-shaped skylight. And I test on it that the worst condition of June, the sun hitting, and sun doesn't hit all the way down. And so all the time that corridor is very airy, and the right side is a dining room. I put some kind of ceiling, kind of curved plywood ceiling. Left side is kids' study room, and the table and bookcase, and left side is some kind of loft above. And right side is master bathroom, and right outside the huge trees there. So I made a clear glass up there up to a certain level for privacy. I stand bracket glass. This is the housing project in Los Angeles, and this is very interesting in terms of funding. First floor, this one is a non-profit organization, youth center, and then second and third, fourth floor is low-income housing. For this project, around 8 or 9 lending sources, financing sources involved. So the non-profit organization owned this lot, and then CRA and HUD, a lot of places they got money, and this one is pretty much how the building looks. Ground 2 floor, very tight, very hard locate site, but 2 levels underground, and ground floor is a youth center, and half of the second floor youth center, but this open, actual roof area, roof balcony, roof terrace can be shared, the youth and the tenants. And then the third and fourth floor is a low-income housing, around 19 units. And the site is so tight, and also the street is coming down, winding down, changing the direction. So the shape of curvedness comes from there. the floor plan, the right side is a youth center, and they need a small office along the window. And middle of that, I left it open. And also setback area here on 10-foot setback, I made some kind of patio type, so they can use it. And then this pretty much typical floor, the housing units. And the only thing this, the building is a little bit twisted or crooked is I trying to, that project should be maximizing, maximum number and maximum. So I got whatever code allows, maximum number of units and maximum number of heights. Right side is pretty much design stage, the elevation. As I told you, this open space can be shared. And this one is a youth center. And then this is building. And the youth center, I made some kind of metal siding. And then two entrances. This side is a youth center entrance, apartment house, this entrance. This kind of detail shots of this metal siding. This is a pretty much Wilton Place, very busy street here. And then this second and third floor apartment house. This is a kind of entrance of youth center. That's a detail. I just introduced it because the building has to be some kind of curved line, or just gonna be, because street is not straight, coming down curve this, so I follow that curve line. This is a detail of apartment entrance. Left side is a youth center entrance. Yeah, could you change that? This is a project I did last year in Korea. This is kind of dormitory for the scientists and high-skilled engineer, one of the big corporations in Korea, around 500 units. And the nature is pretty much like a mountain, very deep forest side. I proposed to them, even though 500 people are scientists, I give them 3 or 4 different kind of living environment. I have a housing type. One is some kind of this double-story height, and then this housing unit a 4-story height. 8-person is cluster, but here pretty much a common kind of space. But I introduced some kind of cabins. So some people like some kind of read books, and this is library. And the model shot is this high-rise, around 2 double-story high building. And this is pretty much some kind of open landscape here. Underneath, we have a parking and all the exercise, this tennis court, this all the exercise space down there. This site plan, this is high-rise building here. And then this space, because grading changes all the way up here, and then this shape is almost like in Korea, the mountain rice paddy. There's some kind of grading is irregularly coming up, and at the end is a library. And this building is pretty much merit, and then some kind of scholar from foreign country. And this building is pretty much a gateway of this dormitory, the whole complex. This is a street all the way out, and you can see far distance this building. This is all parking, and then some sports complex under here. This is a landscape scheme. It's a landscape. Basically, we introduce a major big element, and then the surrounding the forest is penetrating main open space. This is a floor plan. See, 8-person can live in kitchen 8, living kitchen 8, and you're sharing the one stair. So building is like that, one type. This is a cabin type, and this one is a two-story type. This is a project, actually, Norman, he briefly described it. This is second largest is in Korea, the Busan. And this is what the existing condition. Some kind of population density is entirely different from here. And this around 20 or 30 years housing here. But lately, this kind of housing is, they're building a lot. And then this project, I was involved some kind of competition, and the site is right here. Right now, the development up here, and then behind this. But someday, this kind of building can be developed some other way because the density cannot afford to this. This is a site, project site, from here all the way somewhere here and here. And as you see, there's a beautiful mountains. And then some kind of stream is coming down because the rice paddy is coming down. This water can collect there. Right side, actually, this perspective, but you cannot perceive this. This is 20-story high building, 25-story high building, and this is a model. The total is 3,200 units. And they call out this apartment house, but it's a condominium and low and middle income housing, and around 400 square feet to around 800 square foot. And whole idea is that this whole nature, the mountain is here. We set up, actually this project, Norman Millar and landscape architect Stein, she involved heavily in design stage. And our idea was that to maximum utilize the existing natural condition, forest and water course. And we put the building not on the stream, the valley. We put the building according to the contour line, And then they have a very strict condition of building view and also setback. So we follow that, and the building, we made some kind of V shape, and you can see. And then some kind of water channel is coming down. We create some kind of pond, the lake, we introduced it. And natural forest can penetrate in our property project throughout. That's our whole scheme. This site plan, as you see, this contour is like that, right? The building shape is like this, pretty much contour. And then we put the building pretty much ridge line. And then valley line here, all the way down. We put some kind of lake on it, a recycling lake on it. And then this one too. This building is like that. And then by doing that, we follow the contour line. Every vista changes. And even building itself, we didn't make a singular tower. The building is high, low, mid elements. And then along the water and along the commercial strip here, we introduced a commercial strip. Along the country strip, some kind of terrace housing, that makes sense to fight the contour line. And this is some kind of site conditions, how the valley and how ridge is coming down, and then maximize the natural resources. This is site plan, but okay. In Korea, even though the small units, they don't like double corridor system, so they like to have a cross ventilation, and also they are very cold over there. They like to major room is facing south, so a lot of buildings are linear type, but we are trying to make maintaining that kind of principle, but we change the direction and maintaining that nice view and the building shape. This is kind of diagram, but not high-rise building like they're always small, tiny, attach it. So building such grow from the ground, not to sit on the mountain kind of stuff. Right side is pretty much how steep the contour is here, like that. So high-rise building, and then parking, and then coming down another high-rise. This is terrace housing, and down another one. So this one is section through here. This is a lake, and then terrace housing here, and high-rise elements like that. This is almost like the density is around 100 units per acre. You can see hard, but this basically is a lake and house. How can water course coming down? This water is coming down, and between the ridge we create a lot of trees. Right side is pretty much a dumb sketch, but I think the high rise, we'd like to differentiate the lower element and middle and go up. So this is kind of a balconies. The one example, we just change this and variate this. So we like to make a building profile is not just like a simple boxes. We did tremendous hard time to how this grading, fighting with grade. So this is steps, lot of steps coming up, but we treat it like this, the landscape and water. And here, how the V shape of the building and relate to the section. Left side is, because site condition is a whole the slope, this is kind of shape of the parking and the building above, some kind of shape like that. And this is a model study with the parking and building, how it sits. So we studied every single building up to street level. By the way, that project's going to be start construction this year. This is a project I did with my friend Barton Phelps almost 12 years ago. It's a Pershing Square design competition. This is a Biltmore Hotel, and this one block of the square right now is Ricardo Rigoretto designed. He built it, but the competition came out, and the program was this restaurant and then open space, and this is site plan. What we thought about this main open major space like in there, we need half of them landscaped, half of them hardscape. Very simple, but I think we started from there and this hardscape. And then we introduced this restaurant, not glass box, but a lath house. And behind this kind of heavy street, so this kind of lath house look down the park. Left is original Los Angeles map. It was made 1849, and the number 15 lot here is right now the Pershing Square lot. They didn't develop at the time because of flood situation. So this lot is empty. So we made that the map, superimposed the whole park. This is the one underground. We have a 3 levels parking garage, and this escalator is coming up. So we've created big fountains and utilizing that because the map is north arrow here, and then all throughout, where the trees are there and the sunshade is no problem, but this hardscape, we create some kind of trellises here and at least connect every single directions. In hot summer days, they can pass by. See, left side is section of the restaurant. Actually, we were one of the 5 finalists, but we are the only one who's at the lath house. the, most of the people, there's a glass here, but we thought that we don't need it as long as we control rain here. And this is the lath house shape here. And the back side is because of noise. We propose a solid wall. This is the model stage of that the corner. Left side is section, underground parking and how plaza looks, and then how the fountain works. And right side, in terms of landscape, some kind of historical references, all the planting material transported from different countries. So we group them together and some kind of make some kind of meaningful stuff. And then this hard surface we just carved almost like a city map. And the right side is between contour adjustment. Step by step, we create all the stone benches and passing by. And then right side, this we create some kind of pond and coming down and another fountain and recirculating there, because northwest to southeast corner height difference almost 11 feet. This is a project, actually Norman already described it, so I don't need too much explanation, but this is the Koreatown. This is Ardmore Park, and then this Olympic Street. And this is the building. I was working with Korean community to make a senior citizen some kind of building. So I work with the planning department. So it's pretty much, we got this land from the city, actually lease. And then this is the building mass, 3-story high. And across the street is Ardmore Park here. So we're trying to get Ardmore Park direct connection with this building. And while I was working on this project, and Norman suggests that some kind of hypothetical project. So I think that's a perfect idea. So, you know, while I was working on it, and then I developed some kind of proposal here. Our idea was that, you know, this building gonna be built, and then I was trying to, the ground floor is a parking, but almost like a garage door, so they can open to this street and open to neighborhood. And then this street is Normandy, but this street is not continuous, around 3 or 4 blocks north and disappeared. So I thought it's a great opportunity to close this and north, so that means you can utilize this whole street as a community space and community space here. And then I proposed this. My theme was actually a lot of activities you requires a first immigrant. If you go to City Hall or DMV, you name it, telephone company, and this is very disadvantaged to go to City Hall someplace. But if we can have some kind of function, some kind of infrastructure here to take care of everything, like you can pay the phone bill and building and safety kind of stuff, and then might be a good idea. So I propose some kind of plinth and then some kind of very simple structure. So this is kind of, we propose as a kind of plinth, just middle of the street plinth, and then top of that very simple structure. And you can use almost every day or the one day of the week or some night. So whole neighbor and gather there, and then almost like a market type, but at least some kind of information gathering, some kind of infrastructure we can provide it. And then we had an exhibition in the Municipal Art Gallery, and this is a mock-up. We mock-up, we used some kind of very simple sturdy material of scaffolding, and then some kind of prefab steel, and then this is a print. Some kind of very heavy, some kind of boxes lockable. So some stuff we can lock it here, and this easy installation, and top of that we use some kind of fiberglass. So very simple and dirty, and very cheap structure can sit in just the middle of the street, and we can use that as an information center. Yeah, this is when we took a shot, some exhibition as a mock-up. This project, actually, I did the competition this year. We lost it, but some kind of merit award. But I feel so bad. Actually, in Korea, in the middle of downtown, this is 100 years of cathedral church here. And then this is a freeway, kind of freeway. And one lot is like that, owned by church. And this surrounding is almost like a commercial future that can be filled with 20 or 30 story high, some kind of commercial buildings. And they ask us to, what is the best way to develop this whole site? And the program is some kind of auditorium and then some kind of office buildings. So our idea was that this building is not a masterpiece of architecture, but some kind of Gothic style. So we trying to be original architect and let him finish this whole building, even for the ground. We finished the old architecture, and then open space leave as it is, because the only precious thing is if this lot belongs to not to church, it's going to be another high rise. So whole idea is leave the open space and building they required along the freeway to protect the sound, and another low building around the perimeter. So this got a whole open space. And then that open space, and this is pretty much major view coming up. It's kind of a plaza here. And then all parking is on the ground. And to make this building some kind of a base kind of stuff, so we made this kind of whole thing as an earth form. So this is the section, this is the churches here. We made some coming down sunken here, but to make this build object is very important. Whole, very simple, strong, the earth form is around this church. And then we left this pretty much open. Yeah, and then many different angles. This church can be seen throughout the whole site. This is another shot from the other angle. This is the building actually Norman described. I did several school renovation, very little tiny one, the air conditioning stuff, but finally 2 or 3 years after that, I got some kind of assignment, 9 classroom addition. And this is called Ramona School, and this is existing building, and this is site. And I propose small classrooms, between them some kind of open space, backside 2-story high space. And this is the building, look from north, just looking from north. This is site plan. See this tiny little classrooms and the big 2-story high building. But I intentionally these 3 little buildings, 1 story high along the street, to compatible with the existing neighborhood scale and some kind of rhythm. So these little tiny guys along this street, and backside major circulation coming. And this is some kind of eye view, but each classrooms I introduce as natural light as I can. So right side is first floor plan, this classroom, and also this yard. But this one is basically low level, first or second year students, and then 2 classrooms here, and then this is second floor. These classrooms, top of that all skylight here. During the daytime, they don't need any artificial light. And little classroom too. We got a light monitor here and here. Except these 3 classrooms, all classrooms are natural light. the section, each classroom has a 2 light monitors coming down, just the top of the bulletin board. And then here, see, this is a skylight there. So all classrooms are very naturally lit. And this one is, as I told you, this is a garage and a little classroom and classrooms between the space. And they need the parking garage on the ground, but I did the parking garage is semi because I don't like the parking garage right on the ground. So I put this opening, but from street line to setback line, I made the ground is sloping to the parking garage side. See, this from street level, you can see there's inside the parking. At least you can see natural light and some kind of ventilation, but the grading has to be adjusted this way. And then this little buildings compatible with outside, but back side of this building is around 3 or 4 story apartment houses. It's okay, the 2-story idea. So one of the details, these are light monitors, and then pad coming down this playground area, and between 2 buildings. And elementary school, and we have to use a lot of sturdy materials, so I guess concrete block and galvanized steel and stucco. That's a detail between connections. Yeah, this is second floor corridor. And left side is actually this. I don't know the shot is good or not, but the natural light top of the bulletin board, so they don't use that artificial light. After I finish that project, I got another elementary school in Midtown. This is Wilton and 8th, and this is the existing building like that, 2-story high, and this is a land like this, and this one is a new building. But this building is the site is so tight. You're supposed to be, originally they're trying to get 6 lots here. But around 4 or 5 years ago, the neighborhood, they don't want to sell it. So they bought only 1 land here. So we stuck with that lot, but this elementary school is a number of students are growing, and they need a classroom, but also they need a playground area too. So this is the one first, not first, but a very rare case, elementary school is 3-story high. And so that means that lower kindergarten and child care center should be ground level. And then multi-purpose room and the lunch shelter should be 2nd floor. So that's a very hard to do it, but I think we did it that way. And then also the building is 3-story high, and this neighbor, they don't like this building, high building. So this portion is 2-story high compared with this height is. So 3-story high here, 2-story back there. And left side is a building, is a front. Actually, this is under construction. Supposed to be finished last December, but still they didn't finish it yet. So I don't have too many shots, but this building. The first floor, we have 3 classrooms for the child care center, and child care center is different school. One here, and then classroom, little kindergarten here. So they need some playground area here, another playground area here, and this is low, and then big classroom. So this kind of just only the chain link, but I like to make some kind of shape on it. And the 2nd floor, as I told you, this is going to be all multi-purpose room, and this is a lunch shelter. They have lunch time, they lunch, and then major stair here and here, easy connection. And then to make a lunch shelter, we have to make a sunscreen, not necessarily rain protection, but some kind of shade. So This is the third floor. It's one line of classrooms, mainly because the neighbor complained the building height. So this is 2-story high, this is 3-story high. And then this is some kind of diagram how we can work out the level by level, ground level, second level, but the sunshade, and the back side. And see, left side slide here, actually here, this one is kind of cloud, perforated metal and metal frame, also curvy, and most of the lunchtime can be create the sunshade. And this is a building is 3-story high, but backside is 2-story high. And this is some kind of stairs coming down, but I don't still understand. But this size of this beam is so big, but the structural engineer insists that size we need it. The building is not finished yet, but at least you can feel the curve. And the launch shelter is here, and then this lower classrooms automatically they got sun protection here. And this is some kind of canopy. Pretty much same detail. Right side is pretty much construction stage. One open space to another. I create some kind of natural sun coming down. And this is from ground level, look up, and all the way up to sunscreen. Yeah, this is a sunscreen from look up. I think that's all about it, my slide. And if you have any question, then I can answer it. Or this. If you don't have any question, actually Norman introduced very lengthy instruction. I don't need anything, but my case is that right after I opened my office in 1981, I did, first I opened up. I thought maybe around 5 years, maybe I can get a decent job. But I did, you name it, house renovation, garage, kitchen renovation, everything. But 5 years passed by, still I'm struggling. And at the time, I changed my mind, maybe 10 years. 10 years still coming up. So I don't know when I can do, but I'll try my best. Thank you very much.